Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bristol Town Council meeting of May 23rd. If you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. We are going to start with a presentation by and from Emily Spence. I saw Emily. There's Emily. Emily is the HES coordinator, and this particularly has to do with summer camp. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for hearing us tonight. We're really excited to be here and to share information about a new HES initiative called Courageous Kids Stand Up to Stand Out. And this initiative came out of a concern of a couple of our residents, including Rayona Clemens, who's now part of our team, who were concerned about some unhealthy activities on the common. So they came to our Health Equity Zone Substance Abuse Awareness and Prevention Working Group, and the group talked about what we could do to maybe bring some more healthy alternatives to the common, and the family movie night came out of that. So we've run a couple of successful family movie nights, and then this initiative now is an expansion of that, so we can offer more than just one evening of healthy activities. What we're hoping to do, or planning on doing, is in August we're going to offer a week-long program of activities. The Courageous Kids program is a collaboration between Stone Coast Community Church, Mount Hope Church, and Bristol Health Equity Zone, and we're grateful to Bristol Parks and Recreation for allowing us to use the space. But we're going to be holding a free program for youth ages 6 to 12 on the Common in the late afternoon, early evening hours, the week of August 13th through 17th, and we're hoping to bring together a lot of community members to help highlight all of the resources in our community, the police and the fire and the school district and area businesses, to help put on this program and give youth some different activities. We feel like this is a great example of prevention and helping give children an opportunity to make healthy choices. So I just want to introduce our team, and then Sean Smith will tell you a little bit more about the program. But we have Joel Saddam, pastor of Mount Hope Church, Jessica Hershey from Stone Coast Community Church, Rayona Clemens, our resident, and Sean Smith, pastor of Stone Coast Community Church, and Cara Daniello, also with Stone Coast Community Church and Town Square Partners. So I'll invite Sean to come up and tell you a little bit more about the program.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I just love the fact that as a local church that we're able to team up with people like Emily and HES. It's something that now when I introduce myself, I say pastor of Stone Coast Community Church and a supporter of HES. You know, I just love what they're doing, and we want to just continue that. One of our key values as a church is when we see a need, we want to meet a need. And we were going to be doing a program at our church where we meet at the Highlander Charter School, and we were going to do a program for kids, you know, because we thought it would be a great idea to get kids in the community together. And then sitting in one of the meetings with Emily at HES, when I heard that kids were, you know, being solicited with drugs on the Commons, I just said, you know, we need to do something about that. We want that place to be a safe place, a place for family and kids. And like Emily mentioned, it started with a couple of movie nights, and then we just started brainstorming and said, maybe we can do a camp, because there's a wonderful camp at the Community Life Center for 7 weeks. And then we said, well, maybe there's that in between times before going back to school where we can offer another program. And I just want to say, too, it's just because we're pastors, Joel and I, we're not running it as a Christian vacation Bible study. Some of you may have heard of that. We really just want to bring good into the community. And so we're focusing on developing character. And so this is for anyone and everyone from the Commons. We really are being very sensitive to that, regardless of people's religious beliefs. We really just want to team up with the community and offer a great program for the kids. And so we look forward to it. Glad that we're here, and thank you for your support in that.
I did forget to say that we have flyers hot off the presses that we just got today. Would it be okay to share those with you now?
Of course. Yes.
Okay.
Emily, maybe you could share how, if someone is interested in being part of this, how would they do that?
We are going to be advertising with our flyers around town through social media. We have a website that's going to have a registration link with all the information that folks can fill out, and children can choose what activity they're interested in, because there will be various tracks that they can get involved. So we'll be promoting it, primarily that way through social media, through our flyers, letting different key people know, maybe school nurses and all to get the word out. We are limiting this to 75 people. We have a team of about 25 volunteers, so we have a high ratio of and it's free. it is
Free's
free.
Good.
Yeah. So
Can you make sure you leave a couple of flyers here at Town Hall, so
sure.
if people are watching this and they're interested in finding out more, that
and it will also include a meal. We're getting donations of food, so every night we'll be able to offer a meal to all participants. And then on Friday, we hope to have a big family event, bringing families and and youth together to celebrate on the Commons. So.
I'm sorry, what ages did you say this was for? Any age?
6 to 12, ages 6 to 12.
Now, this is different than the police camp, right?
Yes, this is not related. It's just another initiative.
Okay, thank you.
Once again, Emily, I just want to commend you and all the volunteers, and like the pastor said, you're volunteering, your services, and we're very fortunate. It reminds me of that wonderful day over here at the East Bay Recovery Center, how we're collaborating, and we're on that path. But this program, this is where it starts, is with our children, to keep them on the right path before they go down the wrong path. So now we have an outlet for the people that have to come from that path towards recovery, and we can be a community that sets the right path for our children and give alternatives. But I just commend the many of you. I remember talking to the many volunteers that are associated with the East Bay Recovery Center, because like you said, when it's free and it's afforded to anyone who needs help in our community, I think we're very fortunate to have that, because recently attended a conference. One of the biggest topics in the nation is the epidemic of addiction and recovery and the cost associated with it, that people don't realize that the nation and municipalities and states are taking on is very eye-opening.
Yes.
So when we get this to be afforded for our programs and work in partnerships with you and the rest of the volunteers and the municipality, it makes me ecstatic. So thank you.
You're welcome. And as the director of the Department of Health said that evening, the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connectedness. And so a program like this is connecting our community. It's providing opportunities for the youth, but it's also bringing, a variety of community members together to work on, something very positive for our community. So we're excited about it. Thank you.
Emily, first to echo Councilman Stewart's comments regarding, I think, so many great things that you're doing and Hez is doing in connecting and collaborating. I'm wondering if you can take a moment just to help us understand the sustainability of Hez and what we should be aware of, and if there's things that the council can do to ensure that Hez continues to have its needs addressed and the resources available to ensure that programs like this can continue and new programs can be dreamt up and implemented.
Sure, yes. Well, we are working hard on efforts to sustain ourselves. Our Year 4 funding will finish March 31st of 2019. We're currently applying for a Rhode Island Foundation grant, the Fund for Healthy Living, and we're very hopeful to get that grant. It's a $200,000 a year grant for 3 years, so it's not the same level of funding that we've received from Department of Health, which has been up to $400,000 for the first 3 years. This last year there was a smaller amount. So we're continuing to look for outside grants and different kinds of funding opportunities, looking to partners who would like to contribute to our efforts so that we can continue to run programs such as these and continue to look for gaps in services and address the needs of residents. We think this was a perfect platform for residents like Rayona to come to the table with a concern and to have somewhere to go where people can brainstorm and think about creative strategies. So we are working hard to find that funding wherever we can, and we're open to any ideas that the council may have or any grant opportunities that people are aware of to send our way.
Are you working, I'm just wondering if that drug-free communities grant could play a role in this. I think that would be a good connection, and in some of what you're doing. I know that's focused a lot on on kids, but as new opportunities come up, like any multi-year grant, you
Yeah.
know, you can change your path slightly without a
Yeah.
problem. So, I mean, that might be something to look
Yeah.
into. I know we were just met up about that the other day. I don't
Yeah.
know, Steve, you've given it any thought in relation to some of this work, but
Well, so far from that conference, that was the biggest topic, is funding. And they are federal grants. It's just that we have to seek them. They're not just saying, here they are.
Right.
So Senator Reid and Senator Whitehouse's office has already been in communication with Director Tassoni, who I'm sure you're familiar with. And I had conversations with him, something with the chief and the administrator for awareness that we're trying to work on. But I think a meeting with all of us, since, you know, it's just growing, is important to go after those and secure those funds that are there.
Yeah.
It's just you got to ask for 'em,
Right,
you
we have
know.
to find them.
So
And-
I think that'd be pivotal since the strides we're doing here in the community,
so
so.
is the health department looking to the legislature for additional funding going forward? Is that it?
Yep, they are,
So
and there's consideration that we may receive some funding from the Department of Health going into year 5. Their idea is really to bring health equity zones into every community, so they're planning on funding a new cohort, but they're considering also, depending on the needs of the current HESs, partially funding the current HESs a little bit longer to make sure they're sustainable. You know, as we've all put in so much work over the 4 years, you know, we want to make sure that we're here to stay. And I think the success of the East Bay Recovery Center grand opening, brought a lot of great attention to our efforts, and it was really illustrating exactly what health equity zones are all about, to bring like-minded individuals together to really make a difference. So that was one great example, which I hope will illuminate our work and put us in a good place to receive future funding.
So from one zone to another, how does the Bristol, I mean, I'm involved with the Pawtucket HES, so I'm very familiar with the whole issue, concept and stuff, but how does Bristol Warren, I mean, how do your HES link with the COSI, for example?
I didn't hear the end of it.
With the COSI, with the Child Opportunity Zone?
Well, how do we work with the Child
Yeah,
Opportunity
like,
Zone?
I mean, are you all just members of each other's groups, or
Well, we
there
partially
specific-
fund one of the COSI's programs, their garden program. And, you know, we have members of the COSI who sit on our collaborative and are part of our working group, so we work together in that sense.
Just wanted to say I'm excited for the camp. I think, you know, what makes people happy in life is connectivity and being connected to their community.
Exactly.
Having a family member who's a recovering addict who's down in Cape Cod, I know how important it is to make sure they feel connected, make sure they have normalcy, make sure they have value in their life. And I'm happy to say that he's doing a great job. So, you know, I applaud you. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Mr. Clerk.
Members of the Town Council, the first item on this evening's agenda is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item A1. This is the previous meeting's minutes for approval.
Motion to approve?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is one of 2 advertised public hearings. This is the petition of John DiCarlo, the Director of Events and Festival Organizer, on behalf of Thames Street Landing Tavern Company, LLC, doing business as the Wolf Tavern, 259 Thames Street. Request council consideration for temporary expansion of Class BV licensed premises to include adjacent brick alley and parking lot for the 5th Annual Oyster Festival fundraising event to be held on June 17th. This is an advertised public hearing.
Before I open the public hearing, Lou, I don't recall, I know this is our 5th on this. Have we had public hearings in the past on this particular item? Remind me of why we did it this time.
We did it this time because we had an opinion that came from the solicitor that this was necessary to take this process, even though we hadn't done it in the past.
And what was the rationale behind it? It's okay, I just wanted to understand why.
The rationale was the statutory language providing exceptions for certain expansions of liquor license, but this didn't fall into that exception.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Please. Welcome.
Welcome. My
Again.
name's Gary Senuik.
Yes.
I live on 27 State Street in Warren. And I was going to ask the question that you just did. The council just answered it. So, public hearing. Glad to be here. Thank you for your support. We've changed our donation to the East Bay Food Pantry, so we're hoping for a good showing.
You got another 20 seconds of a
No,
commercial. You want
I'm
to do
good.
anything else? No?
I'm
You
good.
sure? Okay. Thank you.
June 17th, Father's
There
Day.
it is.
Thank
See,
you.
I knew it was there someplace. Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Make a motion to grant the request for the temporary expansion of Class BV licensed premises for the area that is included for the date of June 17th at the Wolf Tavern on Thames Street.
Second.
We had a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you and good luck.
And, Mr. Chair, I will just further elaborate on that clarification. The statute specifically provides that temporary seasonal expansions of an existing liquor license do not need to be noticed, or a public hearing does not need to be held, but because this is not a seasonal expansion, it's rather just associated with a one-day event, the opinion was that it did need to be advertised.
Safe than sorry, right? So thank you. Thanks for that clarity, too.
The next public hearing, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, is the petition of Michael Mizrahi for State Street Tavern LLC, doing business as Bar 31, located at 29 State Street. Request for transfer of Class BV liquor license to Elser L. Ramirez, also of State Street Tavern LLC, doing business as Bar 31. This would be new owner, same premises. And this is an advertised public hearing. You have several recommendations provided, and also an objection for the from a creditor. I believe that objection has been resolved, but the council usually considers these things subject to clarification of whatever those issues might be.
Excellent. So I'm going to open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Come on up, please. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Michael Mizrahi. I want to thank the Town Council. I want to thank Bristol. This was a wonderful adventure. We opened Bar 31 almost 4 years ago, and it was a family endeavor. And Elser, the chef, who's been the chef for over 3 years, has done a marvelous job, and I've been honored to work with him, and I feel that Bristol is, fortunate to have someone as talented as he is, and he's continuing in the tradition. He has his brother working there. He has 2 wonderful daughters that are also helping him. And just once again, I think that he will be a terrific resource, and I thank the town and the Town Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? What's this council's pleasure?
Motion to grant the transfer of Class BV liquor license to Elsa Ramirez for Bar 31, 29 State Street, with all ordinances and subject to any payments that have to be made on behalf of the petitioner to outstanding debts that are associated with this, and with all the department head recommendations. All I'm going to say is I'm starting to see a theme with the chefs here in downtown Bristol with the restaurant transfers. So,
Interesting.
Chef owners, that's great.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good luck.
Good luck.
The next item is ordinance 2018-07. This is item C1, This is an amendment to the motor vehicle and traffic portion of the town code. This would be to amend the parking on King Philip Avenue, Division Street to Narrows Road to one parking on one side only.
Motion to approve the second reading for adoption?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I'm going to add something. You'll notice that the next ordinance is quite similar in the same area. This was done so the council had some choice in regards to how much we wanted for no parking. I'm going to rewind back the clock here a little bit, and this council took some steps to make no parking all the way from Narrows Road. Gosh, I forgot. I think it all went up to Sunset, if my memory is correct. Sunrise? Thank you. It's one of those two, right? So I was close.
Yeah.
So this ordinance is first, there's actually a break in the spaces of no parking that if we pass this ordinance and then the next ordinance, which coincided with some of the concerns we heard from neighbors, too. At least I believe it did. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Similarly, as the chairman noted, this is ordinance 2018-8, and this is a similar ordinance as the one above, except that this considers the area from Sunrise Drive to Dyer Street. This is the second reading for adoption.
Motion to approve the second reading for adoption?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is ordinance 2018-09. This is also an amendment to the motor vehicle and traffic section of the town code. This is to establish gross vehicle weight rating system and related ordinance for overnight parking of certain size vehicles. This is the first reading.
Motion, this constitutes the first reading?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And finally, we have ordinance 2018-10, again, amendment to the motor vehicle and traffic section of the town code. This is to prohibit parking at all times for a certain part of Noyes Avenue. This is the first reading.
Motion, this constitutes the first reading?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is item D3. This is the petition of Elsa Ramirez, doing business as Bar 31, 29 State Street. Request council consideration for a vittling license.
Based on all the recommendations, motion to approve vittling license?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
We also have this was continued from May 2, the petition of Jessica Liberatos on behalf of Grasimiros Liberatos Lounge and Restaurant LLC, doing business as the Beach House. Request for an amendment to the Class BV existing licensed premises to allow a seasonal outdoor bar with lower patio seating. This is a configuration modification. The petitioner provided some revised plans after the last meeting.
So, just a refresher, at our last meeting, we had left it that there would be a discussion and a proposed change to the plan, and
Yes.
we were very open to those changes. And I know that we were going to ask you to work with the town. Chris Vitale, I understand you had some conversations. I don't know if you wanted to add at this moment, or if you wanted to let the applicant kind of take the next step.
I'll let them summarize, and then if there's any follow-up notes, I'll include in there as well.
Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
After our last meeting, I dropped off a floor plan sorry.
That's okay.
I dropped off a floor plan and some visuals from the designer that better explained what the bar would look like and our seating. We had taken quite a few seats away, making it 28 seats. And from there today, we also met with some council members, and we, in laying it out properly with actual sized furniture that will be comparable to what we'll have, only fits 20 seats. So we've gone from the 40 seat to the 20 seat. Is there anything you want to add?
So I might just,
Sorry.
I was just going to add that the depiction of the seats is a realistic picture of comfortability and safety for pedestrian and handicapped accessibility, obviously,
Sure.
on the surroundings of the pergola, once the seating is around the bar. And what I mean by that is, realistically, there can't be no more than 20 seats. So that's pretty much, with the construction, obviously,
The
that's
raw
going to
bars,
undertake
yeah.
the importance of how this is going to be enclosed for safety purposes at night, for no access. Obviously, it's going to be well-constructed. I'm assuming the roll-down, whatever you want to call the construction you're going to be using, but it'll be all locked up. So I think that's the
I think on the
changes.
initial plans that I had dropped off from the designer, it shows it's basically double locked because it'll have like the drop down doors, and then the liquor behind those drop down doors will also have an interior cabinet that
Which
will be
lock also.
above, which will be where the liquor is actually stored. So technically, it'll be behind
Yeah.
two doors.
Would it be, I know when I was over there the other day, I mean, the concern about the alcohol being, even though it's locked up, not to be enticing other people in there. And, I mean, I had a similar concern with another restaurant downtown here where, there's always groups of kids coming up from, Thames Street. And there haven't been any issues with it, like the two that are in, like, right downtown here that I'm thinking of. But they are also in areas that are right on a main street where it's easy to patrol them on main streets. Where you're located, you really have to go in that parking lot and look back there, and you get the access from the water. Is it just going to be too much to bring the alcohol back in? I know there's another restaurant that brings their alcohol back in and out every day.
If that's what it would take, yeah, we could bring the alcohol in every night. Absolutely.
Well, that's why I was asking about the construction of the heavy duty. I know a lot of restaurants in the West Bay that are similar to this.
Yeah.
It's pretty much not wood, it's metal roll downs.
Yeah,
It's going to be locked up.
Really,
You're not gonna be
To
able
break into it would, I think the police would be there by now with the security
Sure.
that you're going to have.
I also just want to point out, we have at Thames the rooftop bar, and that also has secured liquor, and that's also set back. I know it's in more of a congested area in terms of in town, but again, with that, we've never had an issue. But I mean, that's something we're willing to consider. If that's
And
what it takes.
we really take the safety as paramount, like we
Yeah.
always say, amongst my colleagues and the chief of police and his staff.
Yeah.
And also, we're pro-business, and I'm in support of this now, and more realistically with the amount of seating and your vision. Like we say, you're an established business owner with multiple businesses. But to that point, it's all a trial and trial basis too. So we give businesses the opportunity, gives the town an opportunity, and all the visitors and our residents. But also, as the chief always mentions, the watchful eye will always be there. So that just might be contingent of a probationary basis as well. So.
Well, I think it's definitely like to see it. I'm glad I went down there because the way it was presented last time,
Sure.
it was, I just had there was talk about taking up the parts of the parking lot and this. I just had a vision of this big square, bar sitting in the middle there, and it really is like that perimeter of your pergola. The one thing the other thing I took, noticed when I because I apologize, when I went down there, I hadn't looked at this yet, and. So you're going to have a roof and you're going to have like sides to this, or is it going to be all open?
No,
It's going
the
to be all open. It's only going to be locked. Sides come down to lock up, but it won't be used when it's raining or windy. Like if it's too cold out, we're not going to be able to use it. We have an inside bar for that.
The one thing that struck me, the other thing that struck me, was your dates, April 1st to October 31st.
Mhm.
And, some of that depends on the weather. I mean, I was
Sure.
sitting down at a restaurant in Falmouth
Right.
outside near Halloween last year in October.
Mhm.
The one thing that concerns me, and I don't know if you're willing to back up particularly the October. I mean, I don't think you're going to open it if it's freezing cold April. But I wouldn't want to see a gigantic Halloween party out there. And that's
Oh.
what I'm concerned
I
about.
mean, there won't be a gigantic Halloween party, but I can certainly move that date.
Like, I'm thinking, like, maybe, like, April 15th to October 5th, like, whatever, like,
That's fine.
whatever, like, the weekend after Columbus Day, like,
not-
after Columbus Day,
I
something
can
like that.
promise you here that there will not be a
It'd be very
gigantic
tempting, I
Halloween
think, to
party,
have
but-
a big one, and I think
Yeah.
we have the bars. I would rather see it, like, mid-April or early May to after Columbus Day.
Right. I just had put those dates in, just because you never know. I mean, here we're going into the beginning of June, and we haven't really even had that many
Great days.
great days. So, we have to capitalize on those
Good
nice
days.
summer days going into October.
But it doesn't mean that you're not going to have, you're not going to be able to seat people out there. You just
Right.
wouldn't maybe have the bar part open. You still could, if it was a nice day, you could still sit out there. I know
Right.
some restaurants that can't get the help,
Yes.
as much help, so they actually are not able to serve outside as late as they would like.
Right. So, I mean, I don't have a problem moving that date.
That would be that's one concern. I would really like to either change it, and I don't really care if it's April 15th, or pick a date like the Friday before April 15th, however that works, or May 1st, but definitely until a date right around Columbus Day. So, I think
When's Columbus Day?
It's usually like the
it's like
second
It's
week.
usually a Monday around the 12th, October. It's usually
Yeah.
around October
Okay.
8th.
So,
we
and that
could do-
usually is like the end of our season typically anyway.
Yeah.
People kind of go back into
And I mean, the
their-
season has really grown to Columbus Day. Before, places
Right.
used to close at Labor
Sure.
Day, So I think that would be, if we were to say, well, that would give you the Monday, so that would be that weekend. So if you just say to Columbus Day,
Yeah. I just had a quick question. First of all, I think the concept is great. I think it's really cool. So I'm excited about it, and we're happy to have you here in town. I just had a question in regards to the design and where the seats are, because I was kind of at 16 and you're at 20. So, and I'm in support. So, so on the long side,
Okay.
just explain. And then one side where the serving station is it going to be no seats?
No
Is that going to
seats,
just
exactly.
clear it out?
So, the long side, which basically has your back to the water, in between those posts, we were able to fit
4 and 4.
4 and 4, so that was 8. And then
The two ends.
with your back to the parking lot, the two ends, that fit another 4.
So you're not, when you're eating, not facing the water?
No,
You're not looking out
well,
at the water. I would think
there's
you'd want
only
to...
one section where you are.
That would be
Okay.
So
four seats.
where,
Yep.
so you're not going to have a water view sitting at the bar. You're just going to have the TV view. Is that it? I saw the TV.
I was thinking the flip side, look out at the water.
you're thinking the
but-
flip. I know.
Well, basically, I think
just
the
be
only
kinda
only
nice.
seats are the 8 seats that your back's going to be towards the water.
I mean, regardless
When you're on the
of
side,
however
because
we put the
you're trying to get
seats-
access to your building. That's why.
Right, we need access to the building, and wherever, if we do change those seats around, however we do it, there has to be basically a big L in order to accommodate the raw bar. So however we arrange those seats, you still can't fit more than 20 with the equipment built in there for the service area and the raw bar.
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, if I may, I'd like to make a motion to grant the request for amendment to the Class BV existing licensed premises to allow new temporary seasonal outdoor bar with lower patio service area from April 15th to October 15th,
Second motion.
with no more than 20 seats?
with a 20 seat
20
change.
seats, yeah.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. So discussion. I'll share my 2 cents. We have other restaurants in the area that came in front of us and asked for outdoor bar seating. In fact, one comes to mind that's down the road, depending on which reference point you have. And they were allowed 12. We had a gentleman that's right on Hope Street, which Mary referenced earlier, that went a year without a bar seat at all, and then we allowed 4 on this. For myself, I heard, first off, I think the expansion's good. I think this can work. So to make clear where I'm coming from. But I'm quite concerned that if we're going to say yes to 20 here, then why didn't we say yes to 20 on the others? And every situation is different. So I understand that, and I'll throw that out. And to keep going with this, if it sounds like I'm talking on both sides, my wife and I will go out to dinner, and we like to sit at the bar, and we enjoy the conversations that we'll have with someone that we don't know and then know at the end of the evening. The server, the bartender, whoever it happens to be. We enjoy that part of it. But I'm concerned that this is a bit too much. I would like to see us be more in line with the other establishments, maybe in the area of the 15-16 zone, whatever the even number is that works and is appropriate. I'm absolutely willing to look at this again in a year's time. And it sounds like what your design is, this would not preclude you from adding those extra seats if everything works well. I do think it's really important to say that you have been good neighbors. I'm not aware, and I'm going to ask the chief to actually express this to make sure I have this right. I'm not aware of any issues that have happened there. And if they are, I'm sure the chief will share it with us, which is what we're looking for. And we're willing to be, this council has in the past and probably is going to continue to work with you or anybody like you that is a good neighbor. Chief?
Sure, if I could. I don't look at this as the good neighbor policy, with all due respect to the council or to the petitioner. As I stated to you, I think the location creates a problem and it becomes problematic. You have a bar. You can call it any way you want. I've been a policeman for 32 years. I'm very familiar with bars. It's in a parking lot, okay, and it's feet from a bike path. I would recommend that the council people go down there, stand by that bike path in that area on a Friday night, Thursday night, a Saturday night. There are children walking that bike path with their parents, grandparents, there are elderly people walking dogs. I think that I'm not a betting person. I don't buy a lottery ticket, but I think that's where the complaints are going to be initiated. You're going to have people that are going to have a problem with what's being said at the bar. As we know, people consume alcohol. When it's inside of a place, it's in their own property. We get calls, as you know, loud music on all the establishments downtown. We do the best we can to try to be, business friendly. The police department, tell them to lower the music, put the windows down, whatever it takes. This isn't an area, as I said to you, there's water back there. I've seen people, when they're intoxicated, do things that you wouldn't expect to happen. I'm not comfortable with it, having, a bar outside of a location like this. I think 40 was way out of control. I'm going to be totally honest with you. As you know, we only have a limited personnel on the police department. We patrol that bike path. We have motorcycles, bicycles, but I don't have a staff of 10 to 15 officers, okay, like other communities do on weekends. We're limited. We're a little short-handed. We're getting back up, as you know. I think 20 is quite a bit. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not really for any of them, but if we're going to do it, I would ask that you stay in line with a couple of the other establishments that are out there. I'd also recommend to the petitioner maybe some monitoring equipment out there, so you're aware of what's going on out there as far as the cameras. So if someone walks away from the bar, I know you're going to have people at the bar and tell them don't walk away with a beer and get on a motorcycle or a bicycle and everything else. But good luck. Sometimes they do it with a uniformed police officer, never mind with personnel there. I'm all for this establishment growing, serving, the people that want to have a good time. I just think that place, okay, in that location could create a problem. If you're going to do it, I'm strongly recommending we do it on a trial basis. I have no doubt that the owners of the establishment are going to do their best to make sure that nothing gets out of control, but let's be honest, they're hardworking people. They can't be there 24/7. That's me, like me, the chief. I can't be in the police department 24 hours a day. So I think that if you're going to proceed with it, I would ask that you stay within a limit that other places in the community have. If it pans out a year from now and we all feel comfortable expanding it, that's fine. But go to 40 to 20. and then, 6 months from now, let's add 5 more, we're up to 25. Before you know it, we're going to be at 40. I just think that it's an area that we have concerns. And we know that nothing under these two people that own it now, but that's been a bar where we've had some serious problems in the past, okay, that I've had to dedicate quite a bit of assets as far as, police officers, undercover officers, outside agencies, nothing under their control. But I just don't want that to grow and ferment back into that same, or morph into that type of place. And I don't think it would under them, and I'm going to be honest with you, the police department will be there to handle it quick. Quick and swift is my motto, but, I just think that we need to be very careful moving forward with this, and just, okay, because someone down the road has one, we're going to give it to you, and we're going to make it grow. I want them to have a good business. I want them to make good money there. I don't see this, the outside being the way it is now. It is a family-oriented thing. You can have children there and everything else. You're not going to have children at a bar out there. I guarantee you're not. They better not be anyway. That's not the type of environment I think we want to promote in this community. There's a condo complex there. There are people that are there on boats. And I ask you to go down there on a Thursday or Friday or a Saturday night and just monitor the people that walk that bike path. Maybe take a survey. Tell everybody who you are, be very polite, and ask what they think. If there's a bar there and people are, I'm not saying they're going to be screaming, but we all know after someone has a half a dozen drinks in them, sometimes loose lips create a serious problem for people. That's my little spiel to you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one quick question, though? I mean, just to be clear, like when I saw the area, I mean, you're already serving lots of drinks out here anyway, correct? You're still having the tables and chairs all around there, are you
Yes,
not?
the tables, so it will
So
be.
you have like that little archway to get into this area. I assume you have a host. You'll have a
Yes.
hostess or somebody there,
Yep.
correct?
Yes.
There's a host, there's actually 3 hostesses throughout the summer. One who is always stationary there, so that when one other one is seating, there's always somebody to greet the customers. We're not removing all of the tables, so in reference to what the chief said, it's not only going to be a bar area. You will be able to still dine, similar to the Boathouse or 41 North. Like, it's still going to be a dining area. It's just mainly the focal point. I'm not looking to backtrack, and have it. No, I know. And we'll be offering, as well as the raw bar, it will also be our full menu, so people can sit at the bar for their dinner or at a table. And I appreciate your concerns. Like I've said, I don't want issues with our neighbors. I'm a mom with 3 kids, all under the age of 8, who are there and play on that bike path all the time. So I completely understand where you're coming from. I mean, I think proportionately, our footprint is a lot bigger than some of the other establishments in the community, and that's why, we feel that 20 at least seats, will fit there. If it really would make everyone more comfortable to go to 16 and maybe next year revisit the issue and, talk about it then.
For myself, that would make me more comfortable.
I also just want to say one thing. I apologize for interrupting, but I was able to do a walkthrough there earlier this week, and when looking at the lower patio, right now there's 23 tables there that seat 4 each, so that puts us up to 92 seats. And I know from looking at the original picture that was submitted of the floor plan, it's a little more narrow than it depicts here. So I definitely think it's in the right direction that the number of seats in this pergola area that's going to be converted to the bar goes down a little bit. And then just in terms of the remaining seats that are going to be there, I still think it'll be a little bit tight. When I talked to Marianne, I know that she expressed that they would be cutting about half those seats, which I think would be in line with just what would be comfortable to get in and out of there if people are going to be walking up to the hostess stand on the outside. But again, I just want to.
So how many seats are you recommending, or what are you saying?
So I think that as the council just mentioned, I think going down in the number of seats at the bar is just good in terms of the space that the pergola takes up right now. And just the number of tables I would just be mindful of, and I'd refer to the chief in terms of just the footprint there.
Well, I think that the capacity, I definitely want to make sure that there are tables there and that it doesn't become just a bar. So I'm
No,
very worried
yeah.
that you still have like the tables so that if a family did want to sit outside, they could. And,
Financially, it would not be in our best interest to remove those tables, so.
I mean, you may have to make adjustments. I don't disagree,
Right.
but I think like that capacity, whatever, once this is built, you would have to probably address that with the various other departments too, like the fire department. I mean, whatever you can have outside there, I'm not sure,
We're just trying to.
Well, they're not only losing the seats under the pergola, they're losing the tables along the perimeter of all the shrubs, too, because, like we just said from the beginning, the pedestrian accessibility, whether it be handicap wheelchairs or whatever, you need to have that clear all around the bar to get access to the bar seats.
Right, we're giving
So they'll
up
be losing those tables and chairs as
quite a
well.
number of
So,
tables and chairs,
in a comparison of the tables and chairs like you specified, I actually think they're going lower on the seats.
I think one of the most important things the chief said is to recognize that this is on a trial basis. If there's going to be a problem, there's going to be a problem with 12 seats, as well as there's going to be a problem if there's 20 seats. So, and I think it being a trial is the most important thing. It's important we provide an opportunity for businesses not just to succeed, but fail at their own measures. If it does not work out, needs to be a mechanism to revoke this license and not renew it. I think failures is just as possible with 12, 16 seats as it is 20. I think it was a huge effort to, and I think a great consideration to reduce it from your original intent to 40. So that's just my feeling. If it doesn't work, whether it's 4 less seats or 5 less seats, I don't know if that's going to be a reason for it to work or not. But that's my thoughts relating to the number of seats.
So there's a motion and a second to approve as it is, and I've heard the general acceptance to have this a trial basis. So I would ask, what's this council's pleasure? For myself, I'd like to see less, and I'm absolutely willing to look at this in the next season for an increase in those numbers if everything goes well. But definitely we have agreement on the, well, it sounds like we have agreement on the trial basis. So what would we like to do from here? I can call for a vote right now, or would you like to amend that?
I just wanted to make you just said as presented, the 20, I think it was presented with 27. It's not 20, so, right, so it was with
The motion
20.
I heard was as this. I didn't hear 20. I
You said-
apologize.
I said
it
20.
said 20.
Then I did not hear it.
April
My fault.
15th.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm the one, Councilman Tiska made the motion, it was seconded, and I just said, is part of the motion no more than 20 seats?
You did. I apologize. Okay.
so-
You're absolutely correct. All right.
It's Chief, and then that trial, would you like to do like a couple months and then take a look, a review every couple months on it, or on it, because it's new.
Right, it's new.
And-
Again, I want to wish them the best of luck.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned about the welfare and what the citizens of this community have been accustomed to. I just want to let everyone know that it's nothing against the liquor establishment. It's just
No,
the
no, 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 I
location
know you do.
that concerns me.
Exactly.
And I think that if we can compromise and bring it down, I think the chairman had a pretty good thing where it's controllable, okay? The 16, come the end of the season, there's no problem. You want to consider bringing it to the 20 and capping it there for a couple of years to make sure it works. I think that's a good start. I think we've done that consistently with every place that's come before us, whether it was Quito's or any other place, the Oyster Bar. So it's not one place being treated different from another. I think we need to be consistent. And again, all I'm looking for is the citizens of this community have been accustomed to a certain quality of life. I want to assure that they continue to have that. Whether it's on the bike path, whether it's on State Street, Hope Street, Wood Street, doesn't make a difference. We want everyone to enjoy living in this town, and it's not the business person that's going to be there. I know they're going to do their best they can. It's going to be the individual, he or she, or a couple of them that are intoxicated, that are going to create a problem for that business, unfortunately, and it's going to be back on your table, and we're going to be dealing with it.
Right.
We don't want that. I don't think that that's what we're about. We like to be even keel, do the right thing for the right reason, take short but rapid steps, and I think we'll get to where we need to be.
All
Well,
right.
I think
With-
the chief makes a good point. If you're agreeable, at least for this year, to try it at the
16.
16, and then we can revisit it for the next year. And I do think, my concern about revisiting it is that it's going to go beyond the 20. And that's, I don't know that I'd want to see that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm happy to revisit it, but I don't want it to be like, well, since it's been going so well, let's have 25, or 30.
I don't think it's
it-
feasible.
but I'd
Fit
like to-
20.
I don't think it's feasible.
Physically,
You
the
can't.
like,
Yeah.
I
you
think you
can't
can stick
fit
that
more
many
than
The capacity
We
20.
laid out
Yeah.
the chairs this morning,
Yeah.
and it physically cannot
Yeah.
fit
Perfect.
more than 20, because
Well, you got pretty big chairs. I mean, a lot of restaurants don't have chairs.
Yeah, but our bar stools are,
Well, that's, like we discussed, that was a good depictive, because when you get off a bar stool, you're not,
gotta have
you
room
need to
right
get
there.
off a
Yeah.
bar stool to
Right.
get by
you can't be
somebody.
packed in like sardines. We still have a dining room around it,
Right,
and,
right.
Okay.
you have to be able to move around.
I mean,
So physically, you cannot fit more than 20.
Well, certainly from what I'm hearing, if there's a-
Aesthetically,
Yeah.
that's with the
It-
footprint of the dining room, it's what looks
It's a compromise.
proper with, the square footage. The patio alone, I think capacity is over 100. That's without the deck, that's without the inside, so proportionally to the space, it's what looks correct.
Okay.
Look, from a design
I
perspective.
think everyone's in agreement. I think it's just that amount of seats. If there's a motion that's amended, then I think,
The motion should be if, it's the councilman's motion, so I ask him for this, but if we do that, we would also, regardless, we want to look at the trial basis. And I don't know what this council's thoughts, I was thinking the end of July, since we can make it past the 4th of July, that tends to be the most
I don't know if I
testing
can even have it
period.
up.
So,
have it up by July.
well, gosh.
We got postponed to this meeting now to get the construction done. Memorial Day is this Monday, and
by the time he constructs it, I would say
When do you
probably
believe it should be
we'll
constructed?
see. I hope we can, but we'll see.
Okay.
It's going to be tough.
So how about our meeting in August? Is everybody okay with that? Okay.
Sounds good.
So Councilman Tiska, I ask for,
well, there's a
amendment?
motion and a second, so is there an amendment proposed, or?
I'm asking it from you to amend your own motion.
I'd like to listen to a friendly amendment if someone wants to propose an amendment.
Amendment
Amended
of, go ahead,
to,
please, Mary.
To, the number would be, on a trial basis, of 16, not more than 16 seats.
And a review.
And review in August,
I
yeah.
mean, you've got to give the applicant some ample time. I would say, why don't you specify a date of a month or two after it's been constructed?
Right.
Yes.
That way, you have 2 months to see it in action
Yeah.
versus trying to speculate. He might run into a situation where he has delays or something. So I would make part of the motion that after 2 months of the construction and it's in operation,
60 days after that. How's
60
that?
days.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, I think that, so my amendment is only on the seating, and that we'll do that trial basis. But Andy's motion on the dates
And everything
the
else
rest of it,
stands.
it stays the same.
You comfortable with that, Andy?
I will amend my motion as stated by Councilwoman Perella.
Is there a second?
Second?
Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Good luck.
Mr. Chairman, if I could
Thank you for being so cooperative to
Yes.
work with us.
ask you
thank you.
to
Chief, thank you.
request that the petitioner provide a new floor plan
Thank you.
for the file.
Did you hear the clerk? The clerk is requesting
With the
a
number
new
of-
floor
with the number of
plan
seats?
with the adjusted number of seats, please.
I'll have it done.
That would be
We'll
great.
get that to you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good
Thank you.
evening all.
Thank
Any
you.
other new colorful pictures, please?
I know, these are beautiful. I know, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is item D5. This is the petition of Ellen Blumgren of the Hot Point Emporium Artist Cooperative. Requests council consideration for sidewalk use license. You have recommendations provided by the town administrator, Director of Public Works, Code Compliance Coordinator, and Chief of Police to approve with certain conditions.
Upon those conditions by the departments, motion to grant the sidewalk use license?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Discussion on this one is, if you look at the petitioner's request, there is a sign included with it. Our ordinances, I know you wouldn't know this, but driving down the street would tell you otherwise, but our ordinance do not allow for a sign like this, or at least our ordinances allow for a temporary sign, which would be meaning 1 week or something along that line, but it does not allow for this. So I think that if the council is willing, I'm absolutely fine, too, with the sidewalk use permit, with what they're proposing, excluding the sign, and I believe that the council needs to consider an updated ordinance for our signage. If you look at Hope Street right now, there's a couple of sandwich signs that are actually not allowed. And myself, I'm not opposed to them, as long as they're done tastefully with no balloons on them and all of that, and they're also over on the side. I don't want to go too deep into that, just to say that I would ask that if we approve this, we're going against our own ordinance by this picture, and I don't think that's appropriate. I do believe that we should approve everything else, leave the sign out of it, and then look at our sign ordinance and make adjustments accordingly.
Well, I believe when I made my motion upon the conditions as recommended, our co-compliance coordinator actually specified his concern of the sidewalk sign concern in regards to the town sign code, but certainly, Mr. Chairman, if we have to revise the ordinance through community development, as the chairman specified, I think we have to accomplish that.
Perfect. So is that, we'll amend it without the sign? Is that, all right.
Another amendment.
Perfect. Is there a second?
No, second.
Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the request of formerly IFC Incorporated by its agent doing business as the Sawa Asian Bistro, 531 Wood Street. Request council consideration of transfer of the existing Class B intoxicating beverage license. There is this would be a call for public hearing to take place on June 13th.
Motion to call for the public hearing June 13th.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is the licensing section, Section E, the sidewalk use license renewals for 2018-19. You have the recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Director of Public Works, and also the Code Compliance Coordinator and Chief of Police to approve with certain conditions.
Motion to approve sidewalk use license renewals.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Also, the sidewalk alcohol service renewals for 2018-2019. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Director of Public Works, and also the Chief of Police to approve with certain conditions.
Motion to approve sidewalk alcohol service license renewals.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I just had one quick clarification from myself. Sam Glenn, is this the new owner or the old owner?
Same as the old
The
owner.
old owner, so that
Old
needs to
owner.
be changed, correct?
Did we actually get an application?
I don't know, it would just get
Yeah,
changed
I
whenever-
think what happened is you had some overlap. The application may have come in from him, but I'll make a note.
It would be corrected, like, whenever, anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
I just hadn't noticed that, I wasn't sure. I thought it was the old owner.
Whenever
Yeah.
we have these transfers that occur, it
Around this
happens
time.
in the middle of a license renewal process, but I think the other one is the licensee of record, so we'll make sure that that's correct.
Okay.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is this was continued from May 2. This was the petition of Lynn Shaw on behalf of the Bristol Merchants Association regarding a farmer's market. The petitioner has withdrawn the petition for this year.
Motion
So
to
it'll be receive
receive
and
and
file
file.
at this point.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to receive and file. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the request of Daniel Cabral, 14 John Street, for a disability parking space in the vicinity of his residence. This is the first reading. You have a recommendation of the Director of Public Works to deny the request.
Motion, this constitutes the first reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is the petition of Barbara Pyle, 12 Church Street, request for a disability parking space in front of her residence. This is the first reading.
Motion, this constitutes the first reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And the next is the petition of John Lannon requesting reimbursement for certain sewer work. I received a message from Mr. Lannon that he wishes to withdraw the petition.
Motion to receive and file?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is the appointment portion of your docket. This would be item G. This is the public service appointments for May. You have the Capital Project Commission with term to expire in May of 2023. You have the request of William Gannot, currently serving, who seeks reappointment.
Motion to reappoint Mr. Gannot to the Capital Project Commission.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
We have this was something discussed at your previous meeting regarding the unexpired term of the Harbor Commission, which will expire in March of 2019. You will recall that Mr. Triano resigned. You asked me to determine which of the current alternates would be willing to serve. Stephen Roth is the first alternate, and he declined. Mr. Medeiros, Richard Scott Medeiros, is the second alternate, and he is interested in the position.
Motion to appoint and elevate Richard Scott Medeiros to full-time status of Harbor Commission and advertise for alternate position for the Harbor Commission.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is from the Solicitor's Office regarding appointments to the Bristol Redevelopment Agency. That's item G1C.
As I understand it, there's a need to reactivate the redevelopment authority in connection with certain terms of a loan that may need to be revised. I believe the redevelopment agency has been dormant for several years, so the council needs to appoint members at this point. There may also be a need to adopt a resolution of need for the redevelopment authority. I'm sure a resolution was adopted at some point when it was originally established, but we would recommend that new members be appointed, and that resolution may need to be readopted as well.
So that resolution, I know that we have a short time period to work with all of this. Could that resolution be created for our, boy, I hate to do this, I don't want to do too many, but June 6th we have a meeting?
Yes.
That's a quick, and then we could have appointments. I did reach out to my colleagues. It's my understanding is the chairman's right to put names forth, and then obviously the council appoints it. But I did reach out to my colleagues and asked for names from them. I don't need any names this evening, but I would ask that you rethink that, so we're all focused on that. I do have a few people who are interested. We had a gentleman also through Diane who is interested. So I believe this should be a quick fix and an important fix, too.
So I'll make a motion that we refer to this to the town solicitor to draft that resolution with the intent of the reinstitution and reactivation of the redevelopment committee, and have it addressed at our June 6th meeting.
Now, is there going to be are there specific projects that we want them to target currently?
The solicitor, if I may, the solicitor expressed we have a particular loan that we want to look at extending its term. Okay. And we need, that initial loan was put forth by the redevelopment and not by the council. That's why redevelopment needs to be put back in place. Okay. Other than that, there is no new project necessary. There is no new focus necessary. So it's pretty much a one-item issue, and then it's a 5-year appointment, in my understanding, of these positions. Mm-hmm. So it'll be a very quiet board after that, probably. So.
Is there a second? I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. I didn't hear the second, but I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is the annual resolution of Bristol 4th of July celebration events. You have recommendation by the Town Administrator and Director of Public Works to approve with certain conditions, and also recommendation of the Fire Chief to approve.
Motion to adopt resolution?
Adopt.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item was placed on the agenda by Councilwoman Perrella regarding the East Bay bicycle path structures.
Yes, thank you. And maybe Diane or others have some thoughts about this. So I was at a breakfast at one of the local churches one morning, and this issue came to my attention about folks along the bike path asking the state to put up, quote, sheds, and being granted the permission to do so. And those sheds, I say quote sheds because they could be anything because there's no regulation. So I think in one case it's actually potentially going to be a garage. I believe that people are looking for that. Like any of us could go out and say, hey, I want to put up a shed and have my little she shed there and I have my water view. So I think that we need to, in my opinion, one, ask the state or let the state know that we're not happy about this and try to rein them in and not just granting these approvals. I don't think they should be granted, except for people that want to do vegetation or, beautify and maintain that area as it becomes, weaves into their property. And if the state does not agree with that, then I think there needs to be oversight from the town as to what these look like and notification of the neighbors and so forth. So I know that another one of our department heads happened to come and join this discussion that morning, so I think that you all may be familiar with it. I've done any work on that as well, but I was kind of surprised to see that they were just granting these to residents along the bike paths. And so you can have this whole dotted thing of structures with no oversight as you're going through the bike path. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I think I think more than anything else, it's a very bad precedent-setting issue. So I wanted to raise that at the meeting and figure out what we can do next.
Councilwoman Pearl, I just was curious, is there a lot of structures that are starting to pop up on this buffer?
I don't know that any of them actually popped up yet. I think
Okay.
that they're getting permission to pop up.
Yeah, Councilwoman Perrella, yeah, I did work on this issue. When I heard about this potential shed, it's 12 by 24 shed. There was an application into the Rhode Island DOT to construct a shed on state property. A resident notified me of it. At that point in time, we reached out to DEM. In fact, I spoke to the Deputy Chief of Parks and Recreation. His first question was, did the town of Bristol issue a building permit? I said, no. He said, good, don't. He says, because sometimes when somebody puts up a structure on state property, if they get a local permit, it can be dragged out in the courts for years. So we did the right thing right from the beginning. So what we did is our planner, Ed Tanner, reached out to legal up at Rhode Island DOT, DEM. We expressed that we're opposed to any structure on that buffer, which is, in essence, open space to be enjoyed by the public. So we, as a municipality, the administration was opposed to it. I spoke to the directors, somebody at the director's office, communicated via email and so forth. They told me that it was approved, which surprised me. The physical alteration permit was approved for the structure to be built, and there was going to be a lease between Rhode Island DOT and this applicant. However, there's one more hurdle that the applicant has to go through, and that's the Rhode Island Properties Committee. Since then, I sent a communication to the chairman of our planning board for a appropriateness opinion from our planning board. I've been monitoring the meeting agendas for the State Properties Committee. We'll be in attendance at that, and hopefully the planning board will agree with administration that it is open space, and we'll fight to see that it continues to be. So that's where we're at. We're waiting for it to appear on the agenda. I think the next meeting is, I want to say June 6th, but daily I check the agenda and it hasn't appeared yet.
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
but there's what the director's DOT director's office, who owns the bike path. It's maintained by DEM but owned by DOT. They said there is one more hurdle, which is the State Properties Committee. and they give the final okay to the the permit, which was awarded by DOT.
Well, I think that, I don't know if it would be helpful to you or not, but I think that maybe the council could either just make a motion that we support going there and opposed to these structures. My understanding was that it was approved that you're talking about, so I'm glad that there's another hurdle to go through, and that we want to make it clear that the town opposes just granting these, like, you know, willy-nilly, because that's pretty much what it is. And so I'm glad that that happened. As a matter of fact, during that discussion, I know that you had said it was right after shortly after the last council meeting, I believe, and it was, you had mentioned that you were going to be meeting, or maybe it was a workshop, but that you were going to be meeting with DOT that week about Medicom. And I said to a couple of people there, I said, like, if you see Steve tomorrow, please let him know, because maybe if he sees someone and it's appropriate, he could bring that issue up. So I'm glad that it's like being worked on, and that people just can't go out there in I really am surprised at the state, to be honest with you, that they are just willing to grant this along the bike path, along open space, and have no input from the town at all. That's what really surprises me.
Yeah.
More than asking more than the residents themselves thinking, oh, this is kind of like my property, I'm going to see if I can, you know, use this for a purpose. That the state would just grant them, and when does it end, and what are their parameters, and what are their requirements for it? So I think that there were people sort of lining up watching this particular case and thinking, well, if that's going to go, I would love this too, and I could use this property, and I've got this and I've got that. So I'm glad that, you know, that's been made clear at the director's level that we're not in support of it, but I would make a motion that we are opposed to structures along the buffer of the bike path, and that, you know, like as a council motion, so that when you go to those meetings, you can say the administrator and the council has discussed this issue and are opposed to it.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Discussion?
No, just I agree with Councilwoman Perla on that. I'm really surprised the state is allowing that without talking to the town.
I agree. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I know it's not typical, but we have a young woman that's here that wanted to address the council relating to the graduation of Mount Hope High School. She's in between studying groups, and I thought we might entertain her schedule and allow her to speak briefly, if you might allow that.
Why not? Come on up. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Caroline Parker. I'm here. I'm from Bristol. I'm president of Mount Hope's senior class, 2018. And I'm just here on behalf of our class. We want to invite you all to our upcoming graduation. It will be June 9th at 12 o'clock p.m. At Roger Williams University. We're just really proud of everything we've, just all of our accomplishments and all of this, and we just think it'd be great for you guys to just come and see like what we've accomplished and what we've done so far. So it's just a really momentous occasion for all of us, and we'd love to see you all there. And we've mailed invitations to you guys. I don't know if you've received them yet. If not, they're in the mail. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so just to personally invite you guys. So.
Well, two things. One is I think it's wonderful that you came here personally to invite us. Two, we're also proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Really appreciate it.
How many in the graduating class?
220.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Wonderful.
It's been a long 4 years, but we made it.
You're supposed to say it's been a great 4 years.
It's been a great long 4 years.
I don't want to leave. That's,
yeah, so just thank you guys for taking the time to hear what I had to say.
Congratulations.
So. Thank you.
I just want to say congratulations, Caroline, and I think Caroline represents represents well all of the students at Mount Hope High School. She's a great mentor to a lot of young people within the high school, and has served the town and the school well. So thank you for everything, Caroline.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it,
Hey,
guys.
Lou, do we need to make any motion on that? I know it's after the fact, but for that, no. Excellent.
No,
You're good.
I was told that it was going to happen during the public forum, but we're just a little ahead of time.
But ran out of time. No worries.
All right, well,
We'll
thank you.
note it in the public forum part.
Okay.
So I hope to see you all there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, the next item is from the chairman regarding nonprofit mooring fees, or rates rather, and the current fee resolution is provided for the council's edification, as well as a letter from the chairman of the Harbor Commission regarding nonprofit sailing school fees.
So I'm going to take 2 seconds here. You'll notice the agenda item is quite small, so is my comments. I was opposed to this when this first, anything different than the commercial rate. In hindsight, I've changed my mind on this. The effect to the nonprofits, plural, has not been a positive one on the increased mooring fees, and the effect to the town is nominal on the change. The change that I'm proposing is a $180 adjustment. So let me say that a different way. An actual $180 fee for the nonprofit moorings. There is a total of 12 nonprofit moorings that this would apply to. That's what I'm looking for from this council, and you can see from the letter I asked our Harbor Commission to weigh in on this, and they agree. I spoke to our Harbor Master. He also agreed.
Is that a motion? Because
I can't make. I can, but I would ask that someone else.
I'll make a
make a
motion.
non-profit more. Oh,
You
Councilwoman
can,
Pillar,
I'll
you want to go
second
for
it,
it?
'cause I supported it, like, in the beginning.
Yes, you did.
I
Yeah.
supported the lower fee.
Yes, you did.
You did, and I think my original motion was the 180, so I'll make a motion that we adjust the nonprofit sailing school mooring rate to 180.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
How did it not go then? Because I supported it as well.
You did, yeah.
So what
Yeah,
happened?
Councilor Stewart, you did too. Yeah.
Must have been
So,
there's a
That's just
discussion.
Yeah, discussion. So I think, again, zooming out, I think the current state of affairs is that we don't have an approved harbor management plan still. Well, we're in extension to our current one. We're in extension maybe 2 years now. We're coming up to 2 years. So I still see it as an absolute priority that we, as a town, state our priorities within the harbor management plan. You know, we have some significant developments that we're looking at with the marina. We got, the harbor management plan is a vehicle for us to state what our priorities are related to accommodating local boaters, transient boaters, what initiatives we're going to put in place. Also, I think short of looking at an individual rate for individual organizations, comprehensively, we spoke with the harbor master. There's a feeling, I think, amongst some that there is potential movement necessary on other rates, whether it's fees, fines, permits, slips, etc. So, I think this is fine, but I think, just pulling things out and changing things without having a broader discussion around, the whole harbor management plan and all the rate structures is something that we should consider. So I still hope that we can make a priority the harbor management plan and also looking at all of the rates, not just pulling out one rate here and there to consider them differently.
I agree with the council. It's needed. Obviously, it's an ongoing thing. Diane, with the conversation for the harbor management plan as a whole, we have our workshop coming up in regards to the expansion of the marina on June 6th as well. So, but it's an ongoing platform with the Harbor Commission and this council and the administration for the whole vision of the harbor management plan and what's involved surrounding that, such as the fees, the moorings, and everything that encompasses along our waterfront.
I agree. Yeah. All right, so there was a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can I ask for a clarification?
Certainly.
So effectively, you're amending the fee resolution?
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Is there an effective date?
Today.
Today, yeah.
Do we need you for that? To change it? No? We don't need the solicitor to draft anything to
No.
make
No,
that change.
that can
It's
be
just
done
a standard change.
administratively.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just want to make sure
Okay.
that we weren't referring.
When were
according-
the fees due?
The beginning of the year.
January, wasn't it?
Okay, so
Can it be retro back to that?
If requested, yes. I talked to the treasurer prior to this.
And I'd ask for an amendment to the motion to that effect if it is going to be retroactive.
Okay.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay. So, let's see. The next item is J1, which is bid 878. This is the Tanyard Brook Culvert Replacement Project Phase 2. Bid was opened today. There were 6 bids received. The first is from D'Amber Construction Company Incorporated of Coventry, Rhode Island, in the amount of $3,967,085. The second was from Northern Construction Service, LLC of Weymouth, Massachusetts, in the amount of $4,797,675. The third is Carty Corporation of Warwick in the amount of $3,539,150. The fourth, CB Utility Company Incorporated of Bristol in the amount of $3,513,620. The fifth is John Rocchio Corporation of Smithfield in the amount of $3,615,498. And the final is D'Alessandro Corp. of Avon, Massachusetts in the amount of $4,319,773.07.
I enjoyed the 7 cents, just so we're clear. Yes, okay, all right.
Not rounding that one out.
Except that, as I mentioned at the bid opening, that requires that I put 2 additional digits in the tabulation in the minutes. It's hard to get those big numbers and get them to fit.
Well, when talking about millions of dollars, I'm actually happy to see this type of millions of dollars in front of us, for long overdue, to continue this Tanyard Brook project. And it's just like all our infrastructure projects. We convey it time and time again to the public. They are millions and millions of dollars to keep your capital improvements and infrastructure for your town and community to keep going forward. So I make a motion that we refer to the administrator to act in the best interest of the town with these bids, and look forward to conveying it back to this council and through the community development.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there a discussion? Yeah, the only discussion I have is that applying to this is a $1.2 million grant that the town got. So 1.8, I missed 500,000, thank you. So $1.8 million that'll offset the cost of this. So that is just tremendous. So there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
My comment on that is yay.
The next is bid 888. This is for professional audit services. You have 1 bid received from Citron Cooperman and Company LLP of Providence. This is a 3-year bid of 2018, 19, and 20, $55,000 each year.
Motion to refer to the administrator to act in the best interest of the town.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And the next is item J3. This is regarding a request from the Bristol Police Department for $1,000 financial support for the Bristol Police Youth Academy 2018 Summer Leadership Camp. A outline of the program is provided.
Motion to support the Bristol Police Youth Academy 2018 Summer Leadership Camp. I think it's extremely important.
Second. But
Discussion.
we would have to figure out, what the funding is, and I was looking for the chief to do
Contingency.
his advertisement.
Exactly.
You want to do your vote first?
No.
We want
This'll help
Let's,
get
I don't
the
want to
ball
ruin it,
rolling.
though. Let's not ruin it.
You got 2 so far, so now you have to work for the proposal.
All right. I think this is something that's well put together during the command staff meeting. This is something that we've discussed over and over again, how to give back to the community, how to get involved with the youth. This is something we do daily, as you know, with the school safety and everything else we do. However, we had a lieutenant and 2 sergeants that were very energetic on trying to put this together. They went out and they got a couple of programs from other neighboring states, and they put it all together. I had them present it to the captain. We sat down in the same room. They assured me it was going to cost very little money. We're going to reschedule some officers' work schedule. which is a great thing, so it doesn't cost the town any money. And as you know, July's a real busy time for us. August, they try to take a little bit of time off, so I was kind of happy when they all kind of signed up for it and said, nope, I'm willing to change my schedule, make it work. So I think for a small amount, $1,000 to take 30 young boys or girls, whoever would like to get involved in this, and come there for a week, deal with some police officers, deal with the recreation staff. We're going to be doing it there at the Quinta Gamble. Take 1 or 2 little trips. I think it's a very positive thing to interact the youth with the police, and I think it's a starting point. If it works as well as we're all planning on making it work, I will make sure I'm there myself for 1 or 2 days. We'll expand from there. But again, I think it's a positive thing. Some of the officers were very energetic trying to put this together. It will not interfere at all with the rec center, the recreation thing that they do down there. For the summer, we'll be involved with that. As you know, the school resource officer, upon the completion of the high school, he's deployed down there, and he assists the Parks and Rec. And we have officers there daily, as we do with the schools and everything else. So I think it's a good teamwork amongst the officers, the community, and a couple of volunteers that'll fill in. But there will be at least 2 or 3 officers there at all times.
Chief, if someone wanted to do this, if a child is interested, how do they?
I think it had it on there. They can go on our webpage,
Okay.
or contact either Sergeant Medeiros, or Lieutenant St. Pierre, or Captain McNally, any one of them, and we'll lead them right in the right direction.
Spectacular.
Are you going, is this just like anyone that wants to go is eligible, or are you going to try to reach out to kids who might have had some, who may be at risk for certain behaviors or anything like that, who may have had some run-ins or with, at school with some issues? Or would you get referrals from the schools, for example?
At this point, we're just going to put it out there because, as you can see, this is a trial and learning curve for us. We're putting it out there. That's a good idea. That was discussed, but I don't want to force anyone into something, too. My thing is, if someone, a parent or a friend or someone thinks they know someone, give us a call. We're always willing to take that person and give them a quick snapshot of it, similar to the Citizens Police Academy that we presently have going on. We put it out there, we promote it, but we want the people to be involved for the right reason. We don't want somebody to be forced to do something that they really don't want to do, and especially as a youth person.
I wasn't suggesting that they be forced to do it. I was just saying that there may be some kids that would benefit from it.
Oh, no, I agree
that
there.
Make sure that
Right.
they knew about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're going to do everything we can to make sure that it gets out to everyone, and if it pans out, I've already told Lieutenant, make sure that you can reschedule the next group of officers or the same officers to do it again.
So reach out through the website or call the police department.
You got it.
Perfect. Julie, could you remind this council what is left in our contingency? I saw you looking at the papers, so. Plenty. Could you be more specific, Julie?
$12,500 left.
Thank you. All right, so we had a motion and a second coming out of council contingency. Is there any other discussion?
Just to thank you, Chief.
Oh, go ahead.
Just to thank you and your department. Just as a commercial, he says to go to the website or reach out to the captain or the sergeants. But for the children in today, this program will break, fostering different objectives to learn and demonstrate through activities, interactive games, and skill building for honesty, integrity, and respect and teamwork. So with those type of traits that will be fostering to our children, I think it's a win-win and positive program that's going to be offered, and I wish it much success and maybe continue. So,
Yeah, Chief, I just again want to applaud you and your department as a whole, because you continuously stay part of the fabric of the community, whether it's part of the schools, running civic classes, not civic, good citizen classes. I think you run at this department and this camp. I think it's paramount as part of keeping the community safe. And I just think it's great as that you guys continue to stay part of the fabric, the community. So thank you.
Thank you, and I'll report back with hopefully all positive success stories.
That's the plan, right?
Okay, and you're welcome to pop in anytime you'd like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's going to be open to the public, unless they're doing something that they don't want anyone to distract. But everyone will be entitled to pop in and see what we're doing and how it's working out.
Thank you.
So again, thank you very much. There will be no one that will be turned down. As you can see, it's a very minor fee, and I've instructed the lieutenant, no matter what it takes, whether I have to pay for it, the student will be there if he needs to be there.
Nice.
Great.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the item K1. This is the periodic report that's provided by Alan Klepper, the Barrington Director of the Bristol County Water Authority.
Motion to receive and file?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is from the solicitor regarding options for addressing party houses.
So I had asked the solicitor to put this on the agenda. I had received a call a couple of weeks ago, I think it's been 3 weeks now, from a neighborhood who's having an ongoing problem, which is, I know there's a gentleman here in the audience with another neighborhood with an ongoing party house problem. And that party house problem is not all over town. It's not all the time, but like a squeak in your car. It's the only thing that you hear after a while. And it's my belief, and obviously the solicitor's going to share why these options are put in front of us, but it's my belief that our current ordinance, our house party ordinance, our noise ordinance, doesn't have enough teeth. It doesn't have enough reason not to continue to do these issues. And I believe truly, and I think this council does too, that the majority of times when someone is pointed out that they're making too much noise or doing the wrong thing, then they quickly fix and everything's fine. But when the issue continues and continues and continues, then we need to do something else. I was speaking to the solicitor right before the meeting, and a point was brought up that there are kids, particularly college kids, because it tends to be the majority on this, not all the time, but majority of the time, you deal with those issues and then they're gone, and then new kids come in. So I think that this council needs to consider, and this town needs to consider, a stronger policy or a larger tool in this toolkit that when issues come up for the police department, that there's a stronger way for us to deal with these things. As I said, I don't believe there's a lot of issues, but the issues that exist are challenging for the neighborhood. You'll see in here, and the solicitor's going to speak on this, and I spoke to the manager from Narragansett, Jim Manny, who, by the way, spoke very highly of the chief, the administrator, I guess knows both of you guys right well. He used to be a state police officer before he took the manager's job. And he said he was there in the thick of it, and what Narragansett did was do an orange sticker, we can call it the red letter sticker, if you will, that when there's a party house, they put it right on there, and it becomes extremely obvious that there's a problem there. I think that's, or some kind of iteration of that, might be best for us to go. So what I was hoping for was to start this conversation. The neighborhood that brought this to my attention is not here tonight. I told them they didn't need to be here because this is just the first step. I wanted to have the council work with the chief, work with the solicitor to talk about where we need to go from here. The chief and I have had some conversations about our current ordinance, and as you know, it's the noise ordinance that requires having the noise meter. I don't know if the system is set up for success or failure for our police department, and I'm interested to work with the chief at length, the solicitor at length, to come up with a better option. So could you tell us what's in front of us and why?
Sure. This memorandum lays out several options that range from increasing enforcement of existing laws that could address this issue, such as the limit in the zoning ordinance on the number of unrelated persons that can cohabitate, or other laws prohibiting underage possession of alcohol, procurement of alcohol for minors, the noise ordinance. There's an ordinance already on the books that may address this issue, known as the disorderly house ordinance. I don't have data on past practice and past enforcement of this ordinance, but one option would be to amend that ordinance such that one of the penalties or one of the steps that would be taken would be the posting of an orange sticker, similar to what's used in Narragansett. And that enforcement tool works well, I think, because it provides very clear and unmistakable notice to the landlord and the occupants that there's a problem and what the consequences are if the problem isn't resolved. So if there's another party at that location, the occupants and owner can be fined.
Can I ask you a quick question? One time I heard someone on the radio, and I don't even know if this is legal, and I don't know if he did it or if it was a suggestion, that, you know, it was around issues around Providence College in that area, which is always often in the news. And I think he said something that he took some photos and sent it to the insurance company of the owner, you know, of the house. Is that legal to do? Because that seems to me like that would be a pretty effective tool if we were to have certain properties, and that the town sent the notice to, not just to the landlord, but to their insurance company as well. I mean, I was over here there is a party house, I would say, on this street as well. And one 4th of July, which is nothing to, it was still, the kids were still living there. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it wasn't so much the noise because it was earlier in the day, but I came down here and going on Facebook that there was a party, I guess, and I was talking to a mom whose kid was in law school, and he was living across the street, and they were having this little cookout with, you know, his family. And I mean, there were kids on the property that is the party house here, on a pretty dilapidated garage, all over, or shed, all over, climbing all over it, like very, very, very dangerous situation that they had for themselves. And I mean, to me, I don't know who the landlord is. You know, I hear it from time to time, like what goes on over there, just because I'm in the neighborhood. But that to me, like, you know, I thought about this guy's comments on that I'd heard on the radio, and I thought, wow, that would have been a good time to take a picture and send that to a landlord. I mean, to an insurance company, because that was unbelievably dangerous, what was going on.
Yeah, I don't think there's any law prohibiting the town from sending pictures or documents to an insurance company, but I imagine that probably wouldn't be the most effective way to solve the problem. The insurance company would have no obligation to act on it. I don't know how they determine their rates. And they would have no obligation to follow up with the town on what, if anything, they did with that.
I think the thing I think of in terms of that, and I don't know if it's a good idea or not, I'm just like conveying it, but if you were to send it to both the insurance company or to the landlord and say the next step would be to that, like what I found out the hard way, that is incredibly difficult to get insurance in, nobody wants to write homeowners in Rhode Island anymore, apparently, and anything like if you have any knob and tube in your house, you pretty much have to go to the Rhode Island Fair Plan, which is very, very expensive, because none of the other companies will write that insurance. I mean, like I said, I found out the hard way, and so if you've been in that situation, like I pretty much do anything to keep my insurance right now, and I'm paying a lot of money for it. So I think that is something that people, maybe they are not aware of, but it is almost impossible between the flood areas and any of the older construction is very, very difficult to get homeowners insurance. Like if you lose yours, mine increased by over $1,000 from going from one company that I had for a while to another company. So, and it was hard to get another company. That's how come I'm in the fair plan. And from what I gather, half of the waterfront communities, like in Massachusetts and everywhere else, are all insured in the same place because they can't get insurance anywhere else. So I think that might be a tool to consider, you know, just letting them know. Now, they would have to care about their property to want to have insurance. But to me, that seems like a reasonable threat if they're aware that it's that difficult to get in this state. Now, some of them are absentee landlords. They don't even live in Rhode Island. I think that that's the case. Then maybe a letter needs to accompany them to say, you know, getting homeowners are like very, very difficult. And I think you could verify that to talk to any insurance agent in this community, because I've had these conversations with a couple of them on my own, you know, about my own property. So that's just something I wanted to just throw out there as well. You know, just it's a problem. It's not as bad as in some communities, thank God. I think the police are on top of it, but people, you know, some of the kids just don't learn their lesson. And once that property gets designated that way, I think what happens is the friends of the friends come in, and I'm sure the landlords are happy to have it rented from year to year by the same group of people, more or less, as they graduate. Their friends come in, and they all have to be of the same ilk in terms of wanting to party all the time. So it's very disruptive to any neighborhood, and something that we don't want here. So
I agree with the chairman that, and thank you for reaching out to Narragansett, but not only Narragansett, I think going forward from tonight with that thought process is we need every single tool. This has been an issue that's been around in every community, in university towns throughout the country. So there is different forms, I believe, in other municipalities nationwide. I think we need to collectively just gather all those tools and make it real swift here in the town of Bristol. We just had business applicants. We send the same message. We give you a chance, and then we're going to just address it, need be. And we welcome homeowners in the town of Bristol. But if we're going to have homeowners that disregard, like you said, that maybe rental property owners that don't even live in Bristol, and they have their tenants having these parties, we as a town need to address this once and for all, and whatever need be that has to go on our books, I think as a council and through the police department and administration, why don't we collect that information, do some research, and draft it from there to add to our ordinance as it exists.
So, Chief, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to this, but the chief, the administrator, and myself went to a meeting with Roger Williams University about a year ago, and that had to do with the payment in lieu of taxes. Those dollars primarily were focused on the police department, at least in our conversation, because of the cost involved with the university and patrolling, such and so forth. In here is that suggestion, but I know the chief's going to say this, but the chief asked very clearly for their participation. After this resident and then another resident and then another resident called me, all from the same neighborhood, I called the university and spoke with someone there who I talk to all the time, and said, you need to be part of the solution on this. It can't just hurt on the town side. It's got to hurt on the university side. It's got to, and Chief's going to get in a moment on what his suggestion was, but in my head, it can't stop with us. If this was my neighborhood, and I mean if you lived on Fesser Ave and you were across the street doing this, would I allow that? So why are we allowing it anywhere else? Would you allow it in your neighborhood? Would you? Mm-hmm. No. Mm-hmm. It's not okay, and this is not a finger point. This is not the police department not doing it. This is they address it, but then it comes back. It's like it's an issue that we need to make it so painful and increasingly painful to do this that nobody wants to play the game anymore. Chief?
I agree with you. As you know, it's not for lack of trying. I just said it. We want to make sure that each and every resident in this community, every taxpayer, every visitor, has been accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and we want it to continue. This year was a little challenging at the end of the year, and I appreciate you making that call. I contact them. I'm not on their Christmas list down there for that reason. I feel that they are responsible for those students. They want to take credit when they're doing everything good, and they do a lot of good things for the community, but they need to take responsibility, when they're not being cooperative and creating havoc in the community. So I will tell you that right after you and I spoke, and I spoke to the town administrator, I also reached out to the director of public safety. I no longer asked, I requested that he come in and see the captain and I, and we assigned a sergeant along with him and someone from Student Life, and we visited, I want to say, 14 houses throughout the community that are involved in these neighborhoods, and made it very clear that from that point on in, because we knew it was going up to graduation week, that every time that there was a issue there, we were going to address it quick and swift. We wanted them to graduate and have a good time, but if it caused a problem before graduation day, they may not be at graduation. So the message was out there, but I agree with you. I think there's more we can do, but I also agree with you that the university needs to be part of this solution, because if they want to take credit when the students are doing good things, which they do, they also need to accept that when they're doing something that they're not supposed to, that they need to be responsible, because they have more leverage than, you believe it or not, us writing them a $500 citation, when the parent's sending them a check or telling them to put it on a credit card because they figure that we can deal with that and it'll be over, versus them being called in and saying, you may not graduate or this may not happen. This goes back to Brother Lou, the town clerk, and I pounding our chests to get them to pay for their parking tickets here in town before they graduate, because for years and years, as we know, they would graduate, wave to us, and off they go. However, they wouldn't be given a diploma, wouldn't be able to walk across that stage if they didn't pay for the parking tags that they had outstanding on the property down there. And our tags are $15 to $25. Theirs are $150 a pop. So the message was clear. I think we need to make it uniform, that they need to understand what they do on their campus, okay, can be accepted by them, but when they leave the campus and they're in our community, they need to respect their neighbors and everyone around. So I do believe we can put some teeth in that. I think we need to do this very carefully, though, because, as you know, not that I'm concerned about it all the time, but the first thing they do is they run into the other building that graduated on Friday, the law school, and they ask some of the professors there and some of the students on what we're putting together, if it's legal, and then it becomes a real mess. So I'd rather put this thing into order in a very methodical way, and like you said, have some good teeth into it. We do that, Mary. We'll contact the landlord. The insurance, I can recall doing it once or twice, but again, I think it's like the solicitor said, they're looking for their money, and unless you can tell them there's a straight violation, like something to do with the electric or whatever, they're just going to call the landlord, put it back on them, and it becomes a tug of war. And by the time anything's resolved, these rental people are moving on to the next part of their life, the chapter in their lives. However, I would say that we stay on it. I will be speaking to the town solicitor, whether it's Mike, Amy, or whoever it may be. I'll keep you in the loop, and at the end, we will ask Roger Williams to get on board. I will tell you that we did tell them, as you know, we sat in at that meeting, and it was the president that I asked if we could have someone from public safety respond to the area of the complaint. We didn't want them to engage or get involved, and he said he didn't have personnel, which you know how that went over with me. This time, I told him it was no longer an asking, it was a request, that we would document it right in the report, that they were refusing to show up for a complaint that had something to do with the students. So it worked. Let's see if it continues to work. That's our goal. We want them to be part of the solution, as you said. There are a lot of good people there at the university. We just want them to understand that this is a problem we're having, and they need to help us.
So Mr. Chairman, with that said, I think, at this point, thinking ahead what our next steps are, I think we need to I'll make a motion to refer this to the police department to gather data and analysis to find out what option would be best for our community, and how we can get to this point where we're resolving this problem, or at least taking steps to resolve it.
Absolutely.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. I want to make sure that we move, and I know you do too, on this right away. I'd like to have this in place before the next year starts at the university, so we have a clear plan. And just because the university has graduated doesn't mean that there isn't issues there. And I want to be really careful. It's not just university students. So but it tends to be, that's where most of the issues happen and what we're talking about right now. So to be clear, and the goal here is not to keep somebody from having a normal backyard party. Most people are good people. They're going to do the right thing. We know what we're talking about here. It's the judge who talked about, I know it when I see it kind of thing. This is, I know it when I see it. So it's time that we deal with this, and it needs to be painful when you choose to ignore a kind suggestion. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, you looked like you were opposed. No? Did you want to share something, Paul? Yeah.
Paul Raduca, 636 Wood Street.
Good evening.
And I wanted to talk about, obviously, party houses. Obviously, Nathan, you know my situation. Chief, you know my situation. We moved in the house in 2006. We bought the house because there was a quality of life we were looking for in Bristol. Mm-hmm. After that, the houses across the street actually were changed hands and turned into a college party house. Since then, we've had multiple issues. It hasn't stopped. It ebbs and flows, like you said. You go and you fight it, and it's basically resides on the neighbors to call the police, get them down. But at that point, you're already up. It's 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And it hasn't slowed down. I've actually, and our neighbors have taken the chance of actually putting surveillance cameras up and I'll be sharing with you guys some very disturbing episodes, what happens out on the streets at night in front of our houses. References to drug use, a fight. These are things that are occurring right in front of my daughter's rooms. There's parties in the backyard with extreme language that to the point where my daughters are no longer, if they're out and having a big party in the backyard, they're no longer allowed to be out in the front yard because of the language that is being used there. To your point, if the landlords care about it, they don't. I'm going to tell you right now, they don't care. What they care about is making money, and that's all they do. And they rotate it through. A dumpster rolled in the other day, a huge dumpster, and it gets filled up, and out it goes, and it comes right back in. And when you look at the economics, I think, to the town of what I'm paying for taxes and what that house across the street is paying for taxes, and the 75-plus calls that you've received over the past 5 years are the ones that we even documented. I would say it's probably 100 calls have responded to that house of what is the manpower that it takes to address that. And that's a concern for me as a taxpayer, as someone who's living across the street, who has never had a police respond to my house for an issue. So that's kind of sets the stage of it. In my opinion, the landlords have to be hit. That's the only thing. I watched the college students, they park in front of the fire hydrant, they get tickets. I talked to one of the kids, I said, you guys can't park there. They said, jokingly, he goes, I don't care. He said, I have so many of these, it doesn't matter. It's exactly what he said to me. So they have no respect for the town in there. The money is coming from somewhere else. Clearly a different economics that I had when I went to college. So that's the struggle that you're going to have. It's the landlord that is creating the problem, that it keeps repeating this. I have a landlord that's there that lives in Boston, that doesn't care what the impact he has on the neighborhood, and that's an issue. So the town's got to decide what we want to do. Do we want to have, neighborhood with kids, or do you want to have the party houses? Because we got to know, because we want to know whether we should be moving out of our neighborhoods. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. So when you're talking about putting some teeth into something, the school I think is a good way to push. We've tried, meeting with the kids before. It doesn't work. Unless you're going to threaten them with not graduating and you hit the landlords with a fine that keeps increasing each time, that where the economics don't work, that's what's going to make an impact on it. Because right now it's been over 8 years and it hasn't changed at all, and we're going to be
so
right.
let's change it. Let's change it. That's the whole idea. We agree. It's not okay.
We need to know.
So
we really need to know, what's going to happen, because we have to make a decision on whether we're staying in our neighborhood. Because I also know that landlord is also looking at buying other houses in our neighborhood, and if that's the fact, and that's what he's going to be doing, and the amount of money he's making off that house, he's running a business, and that's what he's doing, and he's not paying that much more in taxes for the burden he's putting onto the town, in my opinion. So I think we have someone else who might want to talk too.
Getting back to your parking tickets, and it was conveyed to you, Chief, of that attitude, of the disrespect that I don't care how many I have, they get back in their car and they go, and I don't know if it's legal, like the councilwoman says, but just the way my mind thinks is I wonder if it would have a different attitude, that if you're a repeat offender and the cops are catching you and continuously ticketing you, that there's a boot on your car at that point. And when they come out of their apartment and there's a boot, I wonder if they would have a different attitude.
Yeah, their cars have been towed several times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when it snows, they never move their cars during when you have that thing. 2 times 5 cars have been towed.
Wow.
They get it back, pay for it.
It's not for the lack of enforcement. I think Mr. Reduca could tell you. I've been down there, and he's seen me down there. it's just difficult to penetrate, and as he said, and I did tell you that, the landlord is the beginning, but unfortunately, as Mr. Reduc is telling you, this landlord lives in Boston, and he'll either send the fine in, or he's going to have an attorney represent him. But you know what? I think we stay on course, as I said. I think those are the two key components, the landlord and the university, because I do believe that the university has a lot more say, okay, with that student than, unfortunately, sometimes the parent, because the parent's in another state somewhere, and they're just using their credit card, and the economics are different.
I made a point of what I'm going to be showing you guys, and I wanted to be, I didn't want to make it about the students, but I'll tell you right now, what you may see, those kids would be expelled from the college.
Yeah.
Wow.
I waited till now for the benefit of them. This isn't about them, it's about the landlord that's putting these kids in the houses, and they don't care. We have the kids urinating off the porch. We have them referencing hard drugs, fights, everything. It's pretty bad. So I haven't made any calls since, because all we've done is just collected data at this point. So, and I'll be sharing that with you guys.
Thank you.
My name is John Desatel, and I live on 638 Wood Street, and I concur with Paul. We have other neighbors in our neighborhood that have the same feelings that I do. I work in the city of Newport, and we have an effective control division in Newport. You don't fool around in Newport. They drag you right into court, and you're fined. And I feel the most effective way to deal with this problem is to find a landlord. You can deal with the kids to slap them on the wrist. Most of these children come from wealthy homes. You can see the cars they drive, the attitudes a lot of them have. And it's just become, I've been in that neighborhood for almost 11 years now. And it's really gotten very aggravating. Wake up 2 o'clock in the morning, police cars with their lights flashing at night. You got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work. It's just so intrusive, and it's gotten really out of hand. And this is going on for 10, 11 years now that I've lived there. And then a new group of kids comes in, once a semester, once a year, and you deal with the same problems over and over again. I really feel that the most effective way to deal with this issue is to hit the landlords in the pockets. That's what they do in Newport, and it works very well.
I happen to be of the mindset that I think everybody should get hurt that's involved. So we agree.
Yeah, I agree.
We agree.
Yeah.
But what we should do from here is, this was the first step to say that this council, with the chief, with the solicitor, is going to take the steps necessary and give the police department some additional tools to do what they need to do, and then ultimately make sure that good neighbors are good neighbors.
Yeah.
Well, we're willing to work with the police department if they want some advice. And I have a lot of experience in that area, so.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Did you want?
Yeah.
No?
No, we've dealt with Newport, Narragansett. The Newport chief, there's no secret, lives right around the corner. He's in town here. We speak quite often, so there won't be a problem putting that together. But again, I think each community is unique, even though students from every university act, unfortunately, in the wrong way, which creates them to be brought before this. But I think we're on track. We just need to let the rubber hit the road right now, and by the time the university gets back into session, which is usually the second week or third week in August, that we have something. So when we're doing these house visits with the university and the police department, that we're telling them this is coming up. We're hoping not to use it, but if we do,
if we need to, we will. Just
know that there's going to be consequences, and it's going to come right across the board. Landlord, student, and university.
Agreed.
You're all going to share the pain.
Well, I think that they have to, the parents have to hear it right off the bat, when they come for freshman orientation, when they come for, the convocation, whatever they come for, from day one, when they're freshmen, if your kids live off campus and cause any problems, be warned that they may not make it through graduation. They will be expelled, they won't walk across stage, and when I want to hear your song and dance of how sad that's going to be. I think you have to, maybe they're already doing that, but you have to keep giving them that message, because it's the problems that are created. It's the houses, the party houses, and I don't know what we do to stop the landlords to get them to start to care, because they don't, because they're
Money-
making.
money is the
Money.
only
Of course,
thing
they're
that's-
making $500 a room, with two, or a kid
That's
a
a cheap
month,
one.
and they're making, well, no, I mean, they might have 5 kids, they might have like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month they're making on the houses, is what I'm saying, because they're charging per kid. And I think that's like, it's outrageous, and, and then that extends to, just them being around. I mean, like, there's plenty of other, I wouldn't want to live, I hear one house, I don't think it's anywhere as near as bad as what you're expressing, but, I mean, you just can hear them, if you live downtown, any Thursday night, any Wednesday night, any night, in absolute craziness that goes on, and this, before graduation, it was absolutely crazy, almost every single night.
I have attended the orientation for freshmen because my son and my 2 daughters have graduated from there. I will say that the university does express that, but like anything else, it's a soundbite. The parents are all in the room. They're all excited about putting everything else together, and it just falls to the wayside. One of the vice presidents down there, King, made it very clear to everyone what's expected of them in the community and everything. I will tell you that he's expressing what he'd like to happen. Unfortunately, the results aren't what we would like them to be. So again, I think we need to do this in a very orderly manner.
I agree.
Go after the landlord. The student needs to be dealt with, obviously he or she, but that university also needs to be put on notice that this is not going to be acceptable,
Right.
and there's consequences with this.
Right.
I've
Exactly.
presented it before, the numbers for the police calls, as Mr. Reduca said, it's become a problem for the taxpayer here, and never mind to the lifestyle that the residents of that neighborhood have been accustomed to, and they're going to probably enjoy it now when the summer's here. But, come the fall when the students are back full-fledged, it'll create a problem.
Yeah.
But we're going to be there again, and it's not for lack of trying on the police department, I can tell you. We're up and down those roads.
I know you are.
We just can't be everywhere at all times. It's just impossible. That's why I'm asking you to control the liquor part of it also. Thank you.
See how that came right back around there? Did you see that? Yeah. Thank you, Chief. Mr. Clerk.
We are now at the individual council member agenda items, beginning with the chairman.
So a couple things coming up on Monday is Memorial Day. We have the Memorial Day Parade in town. It starts at 9:45. Did I have that right? 9:30. Sorry, 9:30 at the North Burial Ground, and we walk down to the War Garden right here, beautiful War Garden. And there's also a memorial service at the Veterans Home Chapel on Sunday, May 27th at 9:45 a.m. If you've never attended that, it is a beautiful service, and it's something that this council and the town very much likes to be part of. Not just that, but the Memorial Day Parade. It's a wonderful event. Another parade that's coming up is the Firemen's Memorial Parade, which is Sunday, June 10th. It's another one that's that the town and this council very much likes being part of, and likes being part of that support and success, and remembering those that are no longer with us. Chief didn't know I was going to do this, but there's a patrolman, Jensen, who was in front of Colt School a couple of weeks ago, and there was a little girl, now this is my family that shared this with me, it's not a firsthand, that was crying and didn't want to go into school. And this is kind of speaks earlier to Vice Chairman's point, is the girl didn't want to go in, nobody could get her inside, and Patrolman Jensen, he doesn't even know I'm saying this right now, pulled her aside, walked inside with her, had her sit down, drew a couple of things because I guess she likes to draw, and calmed her down and got her in a good place. And I got to tell you something, that does not happen in other communities. So hats off to you, hats off to Patrolman Jensen, hats off to everybody that works for your department, and honestly, hats off to the town, too, because that's a place where we believe, this council believes, and this town believes, and the administrator believes that this is a good place, and this is how we do that. But particularly, that was a great thing to have so many people see it, and my kids keep talking about it. So that's
awesome.
That's nice.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
thanks, everyone. That's all I had.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yeah, just a quick shout out to the Bristol Blooms. The hanging plants are out. They look great, and they add a lot to the town. So I know a lot of hard work goes into that. In the last week's Bristol Phoenix, Marina Expansion Workshop, I was quoted as saying that the meeting would be May 30th, I believe, and I just want to, for the record, it got changed because it was tentative, and it's now June 6th, right here at 7 p.m., so please come down, voice your opinion. Again, that's how we come to good decisions when more people are involved. So again, June 6th, Marina Expansion Workshop will be on at 7 o'clock. And finally, I just want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day weekend, and be safe, and take some time to remember everybody that's given their lives for this wonderful country. And you have a good night. Thank you.
Mr. Tiska.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I have nothing to add. So have a good night.
Ms. Perella.
Thank you. Two things. First, Chief, you did a very good job, you and your crew, getting people out of the parking lot, in and out of the parking lot safely on Roger Williams' graduation. I attended that, and it was a lot of cars, a lot of people, and I say the traffic getting onto Metacom was coming out of that parking garage structure was quite efficient. It's a little slow going on down Metacom, but what can you expect? And I said to a couple people, because Bristol has a lot of practice with dealing with large crowds and getting people in and out of town for events. So thank you very much for that. Good job. Everybody was all over the place. So, and then the other is I just wanted to send a thanks to our veterans for what they have done as Memorial Day is approaching. I will not be in town. I'm actually going to another graduation out of state this weekend, and so I will miss the parade. But I wanted to take a moment and just thank the veterans for everything that they have given to us, and hope everyone has a safe and happy long weekend.
Mr. Stewart.
Just congratulations to all the graduates, and best of luck in your future endeavors, and let us just be mindful in the community of the visiting families, and the roads and the traffic and the public safety aspect, and to all the students to be safe when they're celebrating their graduations as well. Thank you, Ken, videographer, Sergeant Arms Archie Martins, everyone who attended here this evening. Everyone tuning in at home, everybody have a great Memorial Day weekend. Thank you and have a great night.
Town Administrator, agenda items.
Thank you. Well, we're cleaning up after a tough winter. Town is starting to look much better. 25 trees were planted. Catch basins are being fixed. Road paving is ongoing, and at this point, I'm not done with my prerogative, but I'd like to turn some statements over to our Highway Director and Town Engineer regarding our paving and its current status.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to give you a quick update on where we are. Quite frankly, we have two different road projects ongoing simultaneously. One of them is the Bristol Road resurfacing project, which is the project that the town put out, basically working over in Metacom Acres, Ursula Drive, Judy, that area, Michael Drive, Sherman. That's ongoing. We've got a ways to go, although the progress that they're making is quite frankly, is pretty quick. I just want to highlight a couple of things with that project because I've gotten some feedback from some of the neighbors and residents. They're a little bit concerned about what we're doing. And I'd like to just compare what's going on with Sherman Avenue versus what we did on Michael Drive. When we did the design on this project, we did a lot of pavement cores to get a better understanding of what the pavement structures were like on each one of the roads that we were going to work on. We looked at those to see the depth of pavement that was there, the quality of pavement, and in addition to that, the subsurface of the actual pavement itself, the subgrade. So the treatments that we used are different in each location. For example, if you look at Michael Drive, we did a full 16-inch reclamation over there where we did an in-place recycling of the existing pavement along with the gravel. And then we recompacted and took out any of the excess material because there wasn't enough pavement on Michael Drive to mill it and do an overlay. Plus the quality of the pavement was such that it was breaking up. Now if you look at Sherman Avenue, you'll see segments where we did that, and then there's other segments that we didn't do that. The reason for that was the quality of pavement was poor. Those areas were broken up, and we wanted to restore those to full depth and get a good base course on the road. The remaining areas have a good amount of pavement, and the pavement itself is of quality enough where I can mill and overlay which is what the next phase of this project is going to be. We'll go in and mill and overlay those areas that haven't been treated yet, and they'll get a full inch-and-a-half surface course. Every road is going to get resurfaced with another inch-and-a-half of pavement on top of it. So you will not see the patchwork that you see right now. That's preliminary subgrade material that we're working on. So those roads will be finished with a finished product with an inch-and-a-half. To give us, our code is a 4-inch product of asphalt. It's 2.5-inch binder course, which is in those roads right now, and then an inch-and-a-half surface. So when you look at these roads, when we're done, they'll be clean curb to curb with a full brand-new surface course, in addition to those areas that we did a full depth on. The other side of town, over in the Highlands areas, Gibson Road, Chester, et cetera, I want to thank the residents for being so patient over there. As you know, we delayed that project because National Grid was doing a lot of gas main upgrades in there, and it didn't make sense to go in and repair the roads until they were done. Well, they're done, and National Grid is in there right now. They completed milling all of the trenches that were left from last year. If you look at Gibson Road, it was milled curb to curb for the entire length from where they left off on Ridge Road east all the way to Hope Street. The same thing on Chester, and then segments of Sandra were done as well. And then there was a piece on Ridge Road that they didn't do last year, and we did it this year. All of those areas will get resurfaced with a new inch-and-a-half surface course probably within the next 2 weeks. So those roads should be buttoned up long before the 4th of July, and I think the residents in that area will breathe a sigh of relief because the roads have been in tough condition over there. And then the final piece I want to mention is the Metacom Avenue project. I know the chief and his department, along with myself, have been working with DOT because the condition of that road out there is in very poor condition as a result of multiple utility companies doing upgrades out there. The gas company was out there, upgraded their gas main. Bristol County Water was out there. They updated their water main. The trenches have settled. The road is in pretty much shambles. I did see an email that came across my desk yesterday that the area that's really bad, I walked the entire length with DOT and utility companies that are going to be redone, milled, and overlaid, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. They're going to try to do that at night, so there'll be minimal impact on traffic, operations, in addition to restoring the striping that's out there and maintaining that 3-lane section. So, Chief, I think some of those things that you were concerned about will be addressed there pretty quickly over the next couple of weeks. So that, Mr. Administrator, is a quick summary, and I did take longer than I wanted to.
Great. I couldn't have said it better. Yeah. Thank you. I'd like to talk a little bit about public safety and give you an update where we're at. The police department, there's a graduation Friday, 2 new officers. We're trying to maintain that 40 sworn officer level. I know the police chief is meeting regularly with the superintendent of schools and others regarding school safety, training of our officers in the school with the staff, which goes on regularly, some infrastructure improvements that are in the works, and procedures. So, that is most important to us, that we keep that front and center. Some of the comments that were made from the Wood Street neighbors, Mr. Aduka, he's absolutely right. And we have some very good landlords that are receptive, but I think maybe it's time for us to get the attention of the absentee landlords, and those are the landlords that just aren't getting the message. So it was a strong message from the neighbors today, and I'm confident we're on the right track. We are about law and order in Bristol, and law and order, and but we are approachable. As the chairman stated, that does go on with our police department. They do the job when they need to, but they're approachable to everyone. One of the things we're excited about at the police department is our new patrol boat, which was a federal Homeland Security grant through Senator Reed's office. So that's approximately $300,000. This summer we should have our police officers out on the waters to keep things safe and in a orderly manner. Fire department's doing well. Our volunteer firemen, they're active. Our trucks are getting out. Our rescue squad is healthy. Our new engine should be in August. It's being built out in, I know in the Midwest somewhere. I've never been out there, but it's a Smeal fire engine with a Spartan chassis, so that'll replace one of the 25-year-old engines that we have. But we're trying to keep our equipment the best that we can for our volunteers. Our other departments, I know Jose De Silva's here. Compost is available to any resident. They will deliver for, I think it's a nominal fee. They have a small dump truck, so if any resident is looking for compost for their homes, contact is it the sewer department or compost? Okay. Our tax assessor is doing updates, and that's available on our website on where the assessors, the reval company is. If you want, do you want to comment?
So it was suggested to me by another assessor to kind of put public service announcements on the Bristol Warren patch of what the reval company is doing, where they are, kind of give everybody an update of when to expect them to be in their neighborhood. So there is a little announcement on the bulletin board on Bristol Warren patch, and I will update that weekly.
Parks and Recreation, I was asked to please mention they're looking for lifeguards for the town beach. So if this is non-surf lifeguard certification, I believe the department will pay for the certification, and the testing is coming up. So if anyone's a lifeguard, I know we went up on the hourly rate. Can't tell you what it is right now, but we're trying to keep the beach open this summer. We're looking for lifeguards, I'd like to thank our veterans. Looking forward to Monday's Veterans Ceremony and Parade. And also, congratulations to our seniors at Mount Hope High School and their families and their parents. And that's all I have. Good night.
Strangely enough, we do not have a consent agenda. So
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good night, everyone. Thank you.